What's up, guys? This is Parker here. It's about 2:14 right now, and I'm pretty much just gonna just have a just conversation and stuff like that on my personal channel. Kind of just have like a just me just speaking, kind of just talking about daily life. I might do a journal kind of like thing to where I just talk, see if y'all can relate to it and whatnot. But for today, or I guess tonight or this morning, I don't even know what it is. It's very late, but I want to talk about brotherhood for a second. Now, I think I don't even think I know for a fact that the best times of my life have been part of a group. It's never just been me. It's always been with a group of people, specifically men, right? And I could think all the way back to watching Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown with, my cousin and my brother, you know, playing high school football and just seeing me and my teammates just grow up and have each other's backs for all 4 years of high school. And, you know, it could be at your job, it could be a part of a sports team, whatever may fit you. But for me specifically, it's always been just, playing sports or, watching pro wrestling, with the guys, right? And I've noticed ever since I graduated high school, man, you know, I'm keep in mind I'm 24 years old, right? Ever since high school has ended, the brotherhood has completely just torn apart, right? It's just been completely erased. And I don't like how all that has happened, and I don't like how we have kind of masked our loneliness in a sense of like, hey, if we just perform or if we just make enough money, then people will love us, right? I want to be serious for a second when I like say this, right? Brotherhood to me is one of the most important things, right? Outside of my family and things of that nature. There was a time when brotherhood meant something clear and concrete, right? It wasn't like some kind of slogan. We didn't have some kind of like hashtag or some marketing hook for somebody's course, right? But it was an obligation, you know? And I'm speaking from experience, mainly from my high school football team. We had obligation to each other. And brotherhood meant, we were sharing the risk, we were sharing responsibility, and we also shared consequences as well. If one person went down, we were all going to go down, right? So it meant that things were meant, if things went wrong, you didn't look for someone to blame, right? You looked for someone to stand beside, you know what I mean? And that version is completely just falling downhill. It is collapsing, if not already has collapsed, right? Now, it's not because people are like worse than they used to be, you know what I'm saying? But it's because the incentives that once sustained brotherhood no longer exist, right? You know what I'm saying? If you look at today's society, specifically in America, right? And don't even get me started on social media. You know what I'm saying? The modern culture that we live in today, it breeds isolation. You know, we have disguised isolation as identity, you know, and we have disguised our performance as some kind of I guess shield in this world, right? Us men, we are now, having a way of thinking of like, hey, this isolation is just, it's just who I am. Or hey, if I just keep performing and I become the man that I should be, people will gravitate towards me. People will love me again. When in reality, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've done everything that I've wanted to do in my life. I'm only 24. All I've wanted to do was do YouTube full time. You know what I'm saying? I've been on yachts, I've drove in Lamborghinis and all that, bro. People don't want to talk to me. I wake up, my Snapchat is, what I'm saying? Like it's dry. My phone is dry. I probably talk to only two people. That's my cousin and my brother. Right. but no one's checking up on me like for real. You know what I'm saying? And we have to stop mistaking our isolation for identity because no one is supposed to be this alone. I'm gonna keep it buck. No one's not supposed to be this alone. I'm not even gonna lie to you, right? Now we have, you know, we have disguised. Like I said, we reward isolation nowadays, right? We mistake our isolation as independence, and then we are only loyal to people only when it's convenient. And there is identity without accountability nowadays, right? There's not a lot of accountability anymore. We have replaced bonds with affiliations, and affiliations can be abandoned, right? At the first sign of discomfort, right? Have you seen people, you take someone in your friend group, for example, right? Have you seen someone in your friend group just bouncing to different friend groups? Makes no sense, right? Because at the first sign of discomfort, they just want to go away. That's why a lot of relationships aren't working now. You know what I'm saying? But that's a deal for another time. Now, listen, brotherhood nowadays requires sacrifice. You know, it requires restraint. It requires the humility to accept correction and the courage to give it. And today, in today's world that we live in, those traits are treated as liabilities. You know what I'm saying? We are told to protect our personal brand. We are told to curate our image, to disengage the moment that our relationship demands more than affirmation, right? And as a result, we have communities that are filled with people who speak the language of unity, but flee the moment that unity costs them something, right? And I could be talking to myself when I say this, there might be a lot of things that I probably said on my podcast, years ago to where I was just talking all this good stuff. But when it was time to show up, I probably didn't, I probably wasn't the person I say I was, right? Now, if you look at how quickly alliances, collapse under pressure, how easily friends become spectators, and how often silence replaces defense. Brotherhood used to mean that like you absorbed some of the damage meant for someone else, right? Now it often means distancing yourself fast enough to avoid being associated with the fallout. Now let's just keep it buck, guys. I'm not going to sit here and act like technology has completely accelerated this process of collapse, right? Digital spaces, you know what I'm saying? They say that social media was supposed to connect us all, right? Last time nowadays we're the most, distanced, most non-connected generation. And this digital space, all these digital spaces, they promised us connection, but they delivered insulation, right? You can't but you can belong without commitment, right? That's what they promised to us, that we can belong somewhere without commitment, we could participate without risk and leave without consequence, right? Brotherhood cannot survive in an environment where exit is always easier than endurance, right? I'm gonna say it one more time. Brotherhood cannot survive in an environment where exit is always easier than endurance. Okay. Now, there is also a much deeper issue. Brotherhood demands standards, all right? It demands that men in particular hold one another accountable, not with cruelty, but with clarity, all right? Now, I'm not talking about degrading one another like how you see all these quote unquote alpha male camps, right? We're not talking about none of that, right? We're talking about clarity, not cruelty, but clarity. And trust me, that kind of accountability is now mislabeled as judgment or toxicity, right? Male, toxic masculinity. You've all heard that before. Now, the result is not comparison, or the result is not compassion, but is neglect, I'll say, right? And when no one is challenging you, no one is truly invested in your growth, right? Notice how you probably have people that are probably quote unquote yes men, right? My brother, for example, does not care about how I feel as long as the advice that he's giving me is putting me in the right direction. That's why, you know, especially now that I appreciate him more than ever because like I said, you know, it's not, when no one is willing to challenge you, they are not investing in your growth, right? Think about the last person that has, I'm saying, like kind of challenged you on maybe your choices recently, right? If you have a bunch of people just saying, just agreeing to everything that you're saying, do they really have your best interests at heart? Like it's just something to think about, right? There are very few people in our lives today that aren't willing to challenge us and really invest in our growth, right? And I think that's what we all need to start doing. And one thing that you can start is just to, what I'm saying, just don't be afraid to walk away. Don't be afraid of the outcome and the results that you're going to get because if these people, truly understand you and know that you have their best interests at heart, they'll hear you out. Trust me. Now, we have confused acceptance with loyalty, right? Acceptance, I'm gonna tell you the difference between acceptance and loyalty, right? Acceptance says do whatever you want, right? You know what I'm saying? You've all heard that before. Hey, do whatever you want, man. It's whatever. But loyalty says that I will not let you become less than you are capable of being. All right, remember that. Acceptance, I'm gonna say it one more time. Acceptance says do whatever you want. And loyalty says, I will not let you become less than you are capable of being. All right. Brotherhood is built on loyalty, not acceptance. All right. Now, the collapse is most visible in moments of crisis, right? When things get hard financially, emotionally, morally, many discover that they were never part of a brotherhood at all. They were part of a network of convenience. And when that convenience disappears, so does the support. All right. And this is not irreversible. Brotherhood does not need to be reinvented or none of that sort of stuff. It needs to be remembered, right? We as men need to reunite. Okay. And it begins when us individuals choose principle over comfort and commitment over applause. Okay. And it grows when people are willing to stay present during the conflict instead of fleeing the safety. Okay. It survives when loyalty is treated as a duty and not just some kind of vibe. Okay. Or some aesthetic. You know what I'm saying? And the last time I really felt this way, was being on my high school football team. And I think a lot of my teammates would probably tell the same story. They'll probably feel the same way that I'm feeling right now. Now, real brotherhood will never be, popular. Okay. It will never be optimized for engagement. It will never be free of friction, right? But it will always produce stronger individuals. It will always produce more resilient communities and a sense of being that, or a sense of meaning that cannot be replicated by performance unity. Okay. The question is not whether brotherhood has collapsed. It has now. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. It has, right? Brotherhood has collapsed, right? But the real question is whether enough people are willing to rebuild it quietly, deliberately, and without expecting recognition. Okay. Because everything nowadays is people want recognition, right? Social media, it has, I mean, it's the cause of it. Everything is on our phone nowadays. Concerts, shopping at grocery stores, all that. All right. Now, I'm gonna leave you all with this last thing, right? Brotherhood was never about being seen together, okay? It was about standing together when no one is watching. All right. And, I want you to think about that. I think there are people out there that feel the same way that I do and want to rebuild this idea of brotherhood. And it can start, it can start as small as, your own community. It can start with your family members, you know what I mean? But we have to understand that real brotherhood is, it's uncomfortable, it's not glamorous, and there are, you do everything together, right? You win together, you fail together, and when things get hard, y'all stick by each other and you don't quit at the first sign of discomfort. And I'm seeing that a lot nowadays. People are quitting and leaving friend groups at the first sign of conflict and things of that nature. So that's just my 2 cents on the on this topic. And this is Parker Birch signing off.